I sometimes have trouble staying on track. I don't know if you've noticed in 20 years, but I have a propensity to run astray.
I thought people came for the Home Alone and stayed for the wild tangents. So
The best differentiator you can have for your business is yourself.
how does that apply to us?
No one could do this podcast but us.
I think we've earned it.
One thing I've noticed is that you do Tay Zonde more as an editor. And what I mean by that is, if you recall the old, I guess we would call it a viral video of Chocolate Rain,
Yeah.
where he talks about moving away from the mic to breathe.
Yes.
Once you've edited a podcast, especially your own, you start thinking about where your mouth noises are, where your breathing is.
People don't know how much I'm cutting out for them.
And I think they should be thankful for that they don't even have to think about it.
There's a lot of mouth noises, heavy breathing, some weird lip smacking before we start talking, lots of ums, and loads of silence. And I think this happens because we record very late at night.
I'm not saying that that's not the case, but I'll also add that there's a level of thoughtfulness that goes into some takes. We're not just stream of consciousness for everything. There are some things that deserve some thought. And if anything does, I think it's the film Home Alone.
It's worthy of a deep exploration, which is why we're doing this.
What are we doing?
Well, Jerod, what we do here is we watch 1 minute of Home Alone, and then you and I sit down and talk about it for a little while, and typically get wildly off track.
I don't know if we've mentioned this before or I've just thought about it in my head, but I like the idea of doing a catch-up for people who are just now tuning in.
Yeah, if this is your first time listening, you're about to experience something so Home Alone-y.
But doing it in a way that pokes fun at the fact that you probably aren't going to start tuning in on minute 19. So just the idea, as an example, we could be like, so if you didn't tune in last week when we were talking about how Uncle Frank started the Chicago fires, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, catching everyone up on all of our BS, catching them up on all of our...
Doing a recap of things that did not happen in Home Alone.
Can we get Carlton
last
Cuse?
Week on the Home Alone Minute?
Yeah. Can we get Carlton Cuse to say that previously on the Home Alone Minute? And it's just a montage of us talking about the Guess Who and whatever else we've been talking about.
I think that's still too close to a legitimate recap.
Oh, you don't want that. You want something a little more informal?
Something a little more inaccurate.
Oh, we just lie about what we've...
Just to see who that's for. Maybe I'm projecting, but I just don't see who's jumping into minute 19 and saying, this is where I'll start.
See, I think they should. We've got some kinks worked out of the podcasting. The audio's better than it used to be. The editing's better than it used to be.
It's too bad it's not video because you look better than you used to.
Jerod, thank you. We could do video, right?
We could do that, yeah.
Here's what I want,
But do you want to edit that?
Ooh, no. But I would if I needed to. Maybe it's the next thing to learn. What's been great about this, outside of just some scheduled time with my buddy, is learning stuff. I've got all sorts of new keyboard shortcuts and audio track actions in my head now that I didn't have before.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Now we've got my daughter playing on her toy guitar in the room next to me. I don't know if we can hear that or not, but I think everything programmed into that is royalty free, so we should be okay.
Even if it's not, I'm going to do my darndest to
You're gonna
remove it.
hunt down the publishers of if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
It's like the birthday song and how it is a bit more legally dodgy than your average public domain song, but it's not like there's some single old lady who owns it who tracks down people who sing it in restaurants.
Yeah, that was the case for a while, but now it's in the public domain. Is that how it worked? Now we can all sing it.
I just love the idea that this like folklore that there's some 90-year-old lady who's squatting on intellectual property and going around to every Chili's in the United States going, "You better not be singing that song I own."
Yeah, there was that time where every chain restaurant had to have their own song.
I don't know who started it. I think it may have been Longhorn, but the fried chicken country hog is your birthday hot dog. That cadence had myriad lyrics put to it that were sometimes tied into whatever the establishment was.
You don't think that that's kind of like an ambulance chaser, but a birthday jingle writer chaser who would just follow the happy birthday lawyers around and then knock on the door as soon as they left? We're like, "Hey, by the way, for a very nominal fee, I'd be happy to take a look at your menu, adjust accordingly. I'll teach it to the staff."
I am imagining the jingle writer who just figures out the angle and he's like going into these places like with his dad's suit on and pitching them on this.
It's a little too big for him.
Right.
I did hear the other day on the internet, so it must be true. One of the reasons that like all the college mascots look relatively the same is that there was just this one company that swept through in whatever decade that all these colleges were establishing just the having of a mascot. And they just went from town to town drawing up mascots for all of these different colleges. And it was just one dude just doodling up. That's why they all got the same sailor hat on and stuff.
Wow.
Should we talk about Home Alone?
Only if we can talk about Minute 19.
That's the only one I want to talk about tonight.
It's been a little while. I'm going to try and recap, if that's all right.
Please do. Jerod, what happens from timestamp 1800 to 1900?
At a high level, we see Kevin walk into an immaculately clean kitchen. He goes through what I believe is probably his morning routine, which is what children need, FYI. He sits at the breakfast counter island. He turns on the television, which is playing Miracle on 34th Street, the original, the OG, as it were. We pan around this kitchen from Kevin's point of view. We then are back outside Kevin as he has a puzzled look. We do another smash cut to an airplane. We see rich people stage miming, going, yes, And we get just a taste of Frank's ethical boundaries.
Yeah, just a morsel of Uncle Frank here.
And that is the minute.
Yeah, that's minute 19. So, backing up.
How was that?
Oh, just great.
Too short, too long, too imprecise.
The listeners are never going to know that you took 13 minutes to describe that, because I'm going to trim it down to a slim 40 seconds. Never you worry.
Don't cut out the pun about Michigan J. Frog. Leave that one in.
You're not the boss of me.
Okay.
You are right that we are looking at the cleanest kitchen that any family has left going out of town.
In no particular order, what are you noticing in this kitchen that gives you the giggles or the warm and fuzzies?
Thank you for letting me go in no particular order, because there are multiple things. And I wasn't quite sure if you were going to make me go left to right on the pan, reverse shot first. Let's see. Let's take turns. I want to start with this rolling pin.
Please.
1, they keep the rolling pin out on the kitchen island, and they have so many drawers. So many drawers. But the rolling pin looks like it's made of stone. It's a ceramic rolling pin. It's got its own
it's
little
like marble almost.
it has like its own marble rolling pin holder. It's like this weird Irish Spring green.
And again, like you say, it's out on the counter in a house that probably has a rolling pin drawer.
There are so many drawers. When we look at Kevin watching TV, there are like 12 drawers on this side of the island alone. What do you got?
My initial impression as he comes into this kitchen is that it's immaculate. It's not only clean and tidy and put together in a way for just any family, any house, but especially for folks who just had what's essentially a frat party in their kitchen the night before.
Yes.
Like, we clearly have some lost time from last night to now.
A 15-person dinner, a milk-spilling brawl, and this place is spotless.
One of the many things that my eyes go to is a pairing of a hat on a book on the table.
It's a hat on a book? I don't think I remember that.
Because it's placed just so that it doesn't even seem out of place.
This is a richly propped kitchen.
Yes.
We have even more framed pictures on the wall.
They have framed pictures everywhere.
And this is kind of like a reverse angle that we didn't really get a good look at while they were eating dinner the night before. But they have that sort of desk area, like back up against the wall behind Kevin.
Right, that has like cards and things pinned up. And
yeah, the cards are a nice touch because, of course, they would have Christmas cards. But this seems like this is where they drop the bills off. This is the mail sorting area. This is where the kids are leaving the stuff to get signed by the parents and take back to school. And above it, they just have even more framed pictures of themselves. These people and their framed portraits.
Well, it would take you so long to find your family in the house that it's easier to just have photos everywhere.
Their house is so big that you'll start forgetting what everyone looks like.
Right.
If you don't keep photos. By the time you get to the other side of the house, you've forgotten what Buzz looks like.
You're like, it's like does Stanley have a mustache for the fans of The Office? Do you remember what he looks like?
I thought you were talking about Stan Lee, like the Marvel writer. But you're talking about Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley Steamer.
Calling the experts. Do you think that the night before they had the pizza, they had steaks? Because their knife holder only has like one knife in it.
Yeah, is that set dressing going a little overzealous in the lived-in piece?
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't trust Macaulay Culkin with all those knives around, but it's a mostly empty knife block.
Do you have something to put pasta in other than the box you buy it in?
That was the other thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, they've got their own little glass spaghetti tube.
I think we need a segment called Ask a Rich Person, because is there something to showing off what pasta you have in stock?
There's something to it, being able to display your food the same way that you would have a hanging, cascading basket of produce hanging above your sink. That's all going to be rotten by the time you return from France. That if you put it out there, it's better somehow. They've got to get home from the grocery store, open up their box of spaghetti, and put it in their glass.
Put it in a different box.
Yeah. Did your parents do that as a kid with like cereal? Have like the plastic like Tupperware kind of dispensers for the cereal?
We went through cereal fast enough to where that was not a problem.
We didn't do it at my house, but my grandparents did, and my parents do it now.
I see that for things that get stale like that. If you're talking about Doritos, let's say that you have some order from the doctor where you can't have the bag in a sitting. Okay. put that into something that's airtight so that it doesn't go stale. But why is that not in the pantry? Why is it on display? Why is it ornate? Why is it splayed?
Yeah, we got to ask some rich people, I suppose.
I will say one thing, kind of complete flip side of this, is I actually feel really good about my pepper grinder.
They have a mighty pepper grinder.
I would say that mine is probably better quality, though.
Okay. This didn't look like a good one to you? It's very tall.
It looked big, but it's not the one. And they do have a couple. They have like I think it's part of a set, because I think I saw like a salt and pepper in similar fashion, like on the counter elsewhere.
Does the height of it, does the length of a pepper grinder improve its quality in terms of its release from the grinder, its distribution, its flavor?
No, it's far more practical. It's just the amount of peppercorns that it can hold. So if you get super technical about it, it's less fresh.
But all the time that they're wasting restocking their spaghetti tube, they're saving it by not having to refill the pepper grinder.
Time is money. And who am I to argue with people that are clearly that rich?
Would you consider Miracle on 34th Street a 5-star Christmas film?
Yes.
It's really good, right?
Yes. And they even land on the part of it that I quote the most.
the man's got to do something to keep warm.
I mean, it's cold. Man's got to do something to keep warm.
You're a poor excuse for a Santa Claus.
It's such a heartwarming movie. I really love it. I think I've said before that it was my It's a Wonderful Life. It was the old black and white movie that I watched every Christmas as a kid. So it does have some sentimental value for me. But I also just think it's really good. It just holds up as a good movie.
It totally holds up.
Still, have you ever seen the John Hughes 1994 version?
I have, and I've grown more fond of it over time. When it first came out, and I was just like, this is like the movie I like, but less good with Matilda in it. I was a bit hesitant to find room for it in my heart. And in recent years, I've been a bit better about accepting it as well.
Maybe we should watch it as like a bonus episode, like for our thousands of premium members.
Exactly. Yeah.
They can get us talking about the 1994 Miracle on 34th Street. What else could we do? We'll put together the Lego set, and only they can listen to us put together the Lego set.
Is that an ASMR thing? Like snapping Legos together? People have to be into that, right?
Well, we're going to be chatting about it too, but we're gonna whisper. We're gonna talk about Home Alone like this.
Look at these pieces interlock.
Snap, snap, snap. Snap, snap, snap. Oh, I've got to open up this new plastic bag. Crinkle, crinkle. Crinkle, crinkle.
Kringle. Kringle, Kringle. Kris Kringle.
Santa Claus. Miracle on 34th Street.
Before we get into Kevin's puzzled look, which I think is well executed, are there any other things in the kitchen that stand out to you?
Let's see. All the framed pictures. The rolling pin. The red tea kettle. And the red pots are just sort of the splashes of red that we've come to expect from this movie. But the tea kettle's like still on the stovetop, I think.
Yep.
Still on the range. And they've got those cool, like, hanging pots. Again, they have so much storage underneath that island. There's so many cabinets. And yet they also need to hang up their pots above it. It's ridiculous. But this is the family that's going to have a rice cooker, a food dehydrator. Like, they're going to have, those cabinets are just filled with gadgets, right?
So much gadgetry. As well as the old manual stuff, because they also have that mortar and pestle on which may be from the same producers of the rolling pin, because I think it's that same sort of jade marble-y type of thing.
Oh, okay. There's like some trail mix in front of Kevin or something like that. There's like a bowl of like...
Oh, yeah, there's a bowl of something. I don't know what it is, given that they have fruit somewhere
trail
else.
mix or Chex Mix or something like that they didn't put away from the previous night.
The last thing that I would care to give any attention is the gingerbread house.
Yeah, I was going to say the gingerbread house.
What is the structural integrity of every gingerbread house you've ever made?
I have only made one or two in my life, and I think I know where you're going. They don't hold up for long. Maybe for the night, but it seems like this one's pretty solidly.
It looks
put together.
robust.
Yeah, there's a lot of frosting holding this thing up. This year around Christmas, my yearbook staff did a gingerbread house competition. They had like a little contest. Their leaders brought in like the gingerbread house kits, and they had like a little contest to see which team could make the best house. And it was really cute and fun.
Any tips or secrets? Like what is the secret sauce for?
I think what makes a good one is like you just get the house up, and then you find some way to zoom in on some details in a way that maybe no one else thought of doing, like putting some sort of decorative stuff around the windows, or hanging some stuff from like the edges of the roof or something like that. If you're going above and beyond.
You started with just get the house up, which I feel like skips over a lot because that's the part.
Oh, that's the tough part. Oh, I don't know.
That's the like
really
draw
don't.
the rest of the owl for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you just have to be generous with your adhesive, with whatever that is, with frosting or.
Which is something that I'd like to learn a la wainscoting. What is frosting versus icing?
I think I just asked this
To the universe, or?
No, to our buddy Kate, who should know the difference because she makes enough desserts. And I forget what she said because I don't listen to women. But
Kate, when you spite listen to this years from now, I miss you, and I would like you to find us wherever we are, likely on a cruise that I've just won from Sonny from a bet. But wherever that is, I would like you to come and tell us the difference between frosting and icing.
she could email us at thehomealoneminute@gmail.com.
Oh, anybody can email?
Yeah. I've opened it up to everyone.
Oh, that changes things.
You thought it was an invite only situation.
I've been too embarrassed to ask how email works.
I've explained it to you on multiple episodes.
Okay, so it's okay, I'll come back to it.
You know what? It's in the show description. It's fine.
But if you're jogging and you're not reading the show description and you're just listening to our ASMR Lego, what if you're an auditory learner?
Listening? Yeah, what if people are listening while they're deer hunting at night, and they don't want to pull their phone out and turn the light on?
And they're on this high of just bagging a 19-point buck, and they're like, I'm not pulling my phone out. Do you think that Kevin could have heard the response from his mother if he hadn't turned off the television? Because he turns off the TV and says, I need silence, to see if mom responds to me going, Mom? Not yelling, not really being all that loud about it, just sort of saying it to the house.
Yeah, this is the beginning of that slow ascent into I made my family disappear. It's going to take him a while. This has got to breathe for a little bit. Obviously, he doesn't wake up, open the door, and go, oh, I made my family disappear. Cool. And that great cut to the airplane right after it. It's the second time they're going to that jarring airplane noise.
And I'm not mad about it.
It still works.
But when we cut inside the plane, what are we seeing? What are we really seeing in first class?
Well, we're seeing some extras first.
And your theory is that some of John Hughes' buddies are the type of people to wear like a vest or a Santa pin.
A Santa pin, yeah. A really cheesy like Santa pin, like somebody's.
It was a
made
dollar store Santa pin for sure.
No, it looks like maybe like a craft that like a little kid would make at school or something. Like it's pretty. That
simplistic. Actually is a better in-universe explanation, because I would say it's so out of touch with what she's wearing, that it's anachronistic. It's like that cheap looking. But if her granddaughter made it and she's displaying it proudly, there might be something there.
But we are over these airplane passengers. This is a pretty ambitious shot for what it is.
Yeah.
Because we're sort of, the camera's moving, kind of hovering over these first class airline passengers. And we got these extras. Then we got Frank and Leslie. Then we got Pete. Pete. I'm calling him Pete now.
P and K.
Yeah. We got Pete, good old PK behind them. But I mean, I know it's a fake airplane and they got the room for it, but still, like, getting the camera like above those people, like it takes some doing.
Well, and if you've ever been on set for shots like that, you see the weird things that you have to do. Like, as it gets close enough to them, they have to like kneel down, or like their seats have to move out of the way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So you very well may have more to do with the scene than what it looks like, because once your acting is over, you have to vacate.
Become a stagehand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're starting like a lunch, right? Or like a breakfast. So what kind of meal is this? They're starting a meal service here.
I'd say it's a lunch service. Yeah.
And it's real crystal.
Right. Although, because it's like mimosas and stuff, it might be like a breakfast.
If it's
brunch.
Kind of aligned with Kevin waking up, I assume that we're kind of in parallel times here. I don't think we're hours ahead in the airplane and hours back with Kevin. I think we're kind of synced up.
Also, what does it say about me that I say mimosa? And I can recall that I probably said something similar last week.
Yeah, you did.
When it's really just orange juice. Like, there's nothing in the dialogue that would say that mimosas are being had as opposed to orange juice. I think it's the shape of the glass, maybe.
Well, and
But
Frank
still.
asked for champagne earlier too. So
Yeah, I just don't want to give myself that much slack. I want to be a bit critical here and say you're being too presumptuous. But
I don't even think that we talked about the idea last minute that Frank is ordering champagne at 9 a.m.
which is acceptable if you add orange juice.
What brand is the TV that Kevin turns on? I got him, everybody. You should see him sweat right now.
It's just hot. It's warm. I don't have it, but I want to say Magnavox.
That was my determination, was to find some sort of detail that I could bust you on. Because
Can I get a hint?
I'll tell you that it starts with a vowel.
Oh, is it Emerson?
It's an Emerson, yeah.
Oh.
And it's a TV VCR combo.
I did kind of get that, because I think when he watches in the living room, they're separate pieces.
Yeah.
He's not reading a separate piece.
No.
I mean, the VCR and the television are separate pieces. They're components.
Did you have a combo set in your room growing up?
No, my brother did. I didn't think it was practical, because if one broke, then you're out.
Yeah. It's not your decision as the kid either, though. Like if the parents drop off a TV VCR combo, you're like, all right.
Sure. But I think around TV VCR combo times, that's when you're saving up your own money and you're like buying your own stuff. I also had what I suppose is maybe some surprisingly early intuition around the fact that if it's a combination, that means both are likely lesser in quality.
Well, that's gift subscription to Consumer Reports paying off. So kudos to your parents for, I know you didn't muster up any enthusiasm when you opened up the sheet of paper on Christmas morn, 1989, to see that you got a lifetime subscription to Consumer Reports. But I think the results speak for themselves.
It was truly a blessing. So thanks, Mom and Dad. Thanks, Clark Howard.
It's a regional reference.
In a region I'm not even in.
It's true.
Is he syndicated here? Something to think about. Speaking of dorks, who thinks about whether salt and pepper shakers are real crystal? And do you, Sonny, think that Uncle Frank's overestimating his own ability to determine what is and isn't real crystal?
I think they're from a well-off family. I think Uncle Frank is right in that little sweet spot of being able to tell something is real crystal and being cheap enough to want to steal it.
I think you're right.
This is what happens when first class tickets are bought for other people as a gift. Uncle Frank's had no business in first class.
As Rick James would say, should have never given y'all money.
We gotta kick him back and get Heather up there. She deserves it.
I think she would rise to the occasion too.
She is back there in coach getting like hit on by some businessman. She doesn't deserve that. Like, let's get her up here with Leslie. She can read her book in peace.
She won't steal.
She won't steal. Has your spouse ever expressed a desire or even executed stealing the tableware from a restaurant?
No, and this is something I did want to talk to you about because I do think it is a spectrum. Hotel soap is something that's expected to be either used in its entirety or disposed of. There are folks who do collect and recycle that. There's like a whole documentary I saw one time about a guy who went around to hotels and got used soaps and recycled and sent them off. And
Gilbert Gottfried did that too. When he passed away, they found like, a whole closet full of hotel soaps that he had collected, hoarded.
So even the collecting the remnants and recycling, and that's all like a net cost to the hotels and things. So from an ethical perspective, it seems like the reasonable approach is to take the soap with you if you will continue to use it. Not Gilbert's case where he hoarded it, but if you take that soap home and use it, you are seemingly in the right. And not just on a technicality, right? I'm sort of reasoning through it in that way, but only as a substrate underneath the social contract, which is that that's yours to keep.
They're not leaving it there for the next guy.
Right. So if that's somewhere on the spectrum, where is a crystal set of salt and pepper shakers?
I don't think there's any reasonable line of thinking that allows you to justify taking it. It's not built into the cost of the trip, not even as a understood cost of doing business kind of thing where every now and then, you're gonna break a glass or we're gonna lose a fork or whatever. If the airplane is busting out some crystal tableware, they're expecting to get it back. They're expecting to be dealing with people who are decent enough to leave it on their tray to be collected later.
So same question to you and your experiences with your spouse.
Whom I love more than anything.
Let's establish that first.
Yes, let's get that out of the way.
Little housekeeping up top. I love my wife.
Love my wife.
Has your spouse ever taken something that might have been meant for the next patron?
Yes.
So you're saying you can commiserate with Leslie here?
Absolutely.
Now, was it your purse?
No. And sometimes it will be a fairly innocuous item, but I think this even applies to the server's PIN.
Ooh.
I think a server's PIN is less out of bounds. It's in maybe a gray area in the sense that if you ask for it, in a lot of cases, they would probably say, yeah, of course, please take that pin. I have 12 more in my little apron here.
But if it's their last one, which is often the case, because servers are always running out of pins, because people always take their pins.
If they're using the good pins. So is it their fault for using a good pin that they know will get stolen?
This is less empirical than I'd like it to be, but having spent years in front of house, my experience, albeit anecdotal, is that the quality of your pen has no bearing on its likelihood to get stolen.
Interesting.
It has some bearing on the likelihood of someone mentioning something about it, because on many occasions you would get this, knowing dad nod of like, oh, good pen. But that would in no way impact the likelihood of it getting taken? Because I think it's just who you're putting that pen in front of.
Either a reasonable citizen of the world or my wife, whom I love more than anything.
I'll say this as far as the pen rule goes. If you leave another pen in its place, because let's say they have some kind of cool pen or they have some weird, like they got a free pen from some insurance company or some law firm.
Oh,
so they didn't pay for it.
Different story.
But that pen, whatever that insurance company or law firm you find funny, so you want that pen.
See, that's where I think I'm willing to steal a pen, or at least ask the server if I can have it, if it makes me laugh, if it's a funny pen.
Well, you trade it out, right? Because to the server, that piece of it has no value. So it's truly down to the utility of it being a pen. Therefore, value for value, you find more value in that pen. So I think it's reasonable to propose that trade, right? Like, hey, I have this Bic Crystal, the classic, which I have to say is an engineering marvel, but
yeah,
that's another podcast. You offer that, maybe even two of those if the pen is funny enough, but you offer that in exchange. And the server goes, yeah, okay.
Here's what you do. You add $1 to the tip and take the pen.
Did they know what the tip was before, though? Are you saying you add an additional line?
Yes.
Okay.
You write a third line. Here's your total. Here's your gratuity.
And then it just says
$1.
pen gratuity?
And it says plus $1. I'm taking your pen. And new total, signature.
Okay, that's really got me going because I have to wonder if that triggers in them the idea of what that pen cost.
And maybe they're going to start a little side hustle at Chili's where they're trying to sell the pens now.
So they find,
right?
They find really nice pens for 35, 40 cents.
Hey, I tell you what, throw an extra $1 on that tip. I'll let you take that pen home.
But then again, you're talking about credit card receipts. So you'd have to get way more margin in there because that's going to be taxed like crazy because it's your gratuity. So you'd have to find a pen that's like 15 cents. The flip side, though, is actually why I asked is what if it's a nice pen? What if it's like a Fisher pen or something?
See, that's the other thing. Sometimes I think that the pen...
And you've left $1.
Well, you see, yeah, that's outside of it. That's only works if you're talking about... It's the law firm of Booger and Farty Butt, and you're like, I gotta have this pen. This pen cost him nothing. He found it. It was a nickel, like, to produce it in the first place. But some pens, and this is maybe with nicer establishments, where the pen is part of it all. It's elevating the meal too. From the time you say hi to the host to the time you're signing the check, you're having a very deliberately produced evening. If that's a $12 pen, you don't just get to put it in your purse. They need that pen for the next guy. There's not a whole box of those lying around.
Counterpoint. I've been to a few of those establishments that, like you say, are on that level and the pen is part of it, but it is branded to that establishment.
Yeah. So it becomes a tempting keepsake.
Right.
When that's what they have the matchbooks for.
I'd have to make that joke next episode.
I don't know what joke you're talking about.
What's next episode?
Oh, okay. I get it. Minute 20. Sorry. Didn't mean to push you around.